Hello everyone, this is Helen H. and welcome to my channel, Moss Cottage. I hope you all are doing well. Today I was going to start do the whole thing, the small tutorial on how I made my nature journal. One of my subscribers requested to know how I made it. I thought I had a video on how I constructed this one, but I did not. So at least if I did, I didn't title it anything that I can find, and I don't want to watch all my videos to find out. This right now is actually my favorite journal to be working in. It is almost done, but there are still some spots that I can decorate. So I will do that. But before I get started on this tutorial, I just wanted to show you two things. First of all, I got these cards. Are these not adorable? A young girl, she must have been like in middle school, painted these cards and was selling them at a little craft fair up by the cabin, and I just could not leave them. They come with the little envelopes there, and I told her, I said, I believe they're watercolors, and I said, you really need to sign your work. But she's got it's A Pixie's Arts on the back that she said, well, I've got my stamp on the back, but I just think that these were adorable, and I just wanted to support her. And these are going to go in one of my journals. I just love them so much. So that was something I got a little while ago, but I had not shown that. And then yesterday, my friend, my BFF, gave me this book, and it says Spot and Sticker Plants. So this it has over 400 illustrated stickers and places to stick them. Like, this is where you would stick them here, and then in the book look at these stickers, guys. I mean, these are, oh my gosh, these are just beautiful. It's every 2 pages is the stickers. Look at these. Aren't they great? There's mushrooms, there's flowers, trees, ferns, just all kinds of great stuff in here. And then again in the back you've got the rest of them where you find something and then you go search for the sticker and then put the sticker there. But I told her when I'm finished with the stickers, I'm also going to use all these little black and white images. But one of the reasons what I wanted to tell you about this, where she got this at a, oh my gosh, what is it called? Where fish are. Oh my gosh, I just got my camera stupid. She was visiting Portland, Oregon. Her sister lives out that way. And what is it called? An aquarium. And it was in the kids section of the gift shop at the aquarium in Portland. So it got me to thinking, because it's kind of like a nature thing. If you go to national parks or even state parks, anywhere with a gift shop, look for stuff like these sticker things, and look in the kids section, because these were not in the adult section. This was in the kids section. So that might be another great place to get some great nature journal type supplies. Okay, so let's get on with the journal here. All right, so this is the journal that I made. Now it is approximately, sorry for the reach, I do that every time. I need to keep it here. It's approximately 5.5 by 8.5. Okay, and the reason I made it that way is because I'm lazy. And if you know 5.5 by 8.5, it's actually an 11 by 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper folded in half. So copy paper, a lot of office papers come in 8.5 by 11 pieces. The cardboard or the cardstock does not, so obviously you're going to have to cut some stuff down, but there are some pages that I was just able to put in. And this is really pretty sturdy, and I'm going to show you how to make this first, and then we're going to talk about it. So this is the cover of mine, and I really like that. I went ahead for time's sake and cut what we need for the covers. Now, this cover is 2 thicknesses of cardstock. There's a different one on the inside from the outside. In the back, there is a pocket. Okay, I cut a pocket here. So they are both very sturdy because it's 2 layers of cardboard, but in the or cardstock, but in the back you have 1 layer and 1 layer because it's a pocket. This strip here is the one that I'm going to use over the spine here, like this. Okay, the point of this strip here is this is a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and all I did was I put this on just to hide the thread, you know, from the pamphlet stitch. But because this is one that's being used a lot and opened and closed a lot, it also will help to make sure that the thread doesn't get pulled out or damaged too much, because this will actually be glued on over the stitching and make it a little bit stronger. So these are the paper I picked. I picked this for the outside cover, and I'm sorry I cannot tell you who these are because these were one-off papers that I had in my stash. So this is the one we're going to use for the outside cover, and then this one, now this one is an artist paper from a Stampington magazine, and this one here with the, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not, it's slightly rosy and scripty or whatever, that's going to be on the inside cover. So it's going to go this way, okay? And then this piece here is going to be the spine right here, okay? Not a great difference, but there is a difference in the pattern, if you can see, okay? So this is how we're going to do it. Now, this video is going to have to be made in 2 parts. I'll do the first part, and then I'm going to have to come back to you because the first part's going to need to dry a little bit. This paper I had actually picked out first, this Stampington paper, and I assumed it was 8.5 by 11. It is just a tiny bit smaller than that, and it might be because it was from the magazine, it was perforated, and you know, there was a little bit of space. So that's fine. It's not an exact science. This one I had cut at 8.5 by 11, thinking this was 8.5 by 11. But as you can see, it's a little, the cover one is a little bigger. We've got some gappage here. I actually am okay with that because I'm not terrific at getting these things on so evenly that I don't have one, like, you know, gluing it down when you get all that glue on, so that one's sticking over this way too much and you have to trim it off, and then one's been short on this side and you have to trim it off. I'm actually okay with it being bigger because I can definitely get that on, covering all the edges and everything, and then just trim the whole thing and it will be perfect all the way around. Now, because there's the pocket on the back side here, right here, we're going to have to do it a little bit tricky. And I don't even remember, I made that a while ago. I don't even remember how I did it, but I do have an idea of how to do it. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and start with my inside piece of paper, and I'm just going to go ahead and fold that in half. Now, if you want to score it, you know, get out your scoreboard and all that, you can do that. But I'm just going to make this as easy as possible. And I'm just going to fold it in half like that. And I use my trusty any tool. This one will work just to burnish it down a little bit. Okay? So that's in half. Now I'm going to do the same with my outside cover. Fold it in half. I'm trying to do this as best I can without getting my head in the shot here. If you have to do some trimming, it's not the end of the world. You know, it really isn't. Sorry for the reach. I actually like these better. Okay. All right, just to burnish it down. Okay. So that wasn't rocket science, right? All right, so this is the front. Now my paper, this one, it doesn't matter. There was no right, wrong, upside down, or whatever. This one does have some script in the background, so I want to make sure I'm going to keep this one upright. So what we're going to do is we are going to glue the inside to the outside on one side only, okay? Because remember, this side is a pocket, and we don't want to go ahead and glue the whole thing down because there won't be a pocket then. So if you don't want a pocket, that's fine. Just glue the whole thing down on both sides. But what I'm going to do, I am going to get one of my artist grade palettes, meaning a lid from some plastic container, And I am going to be using my Vicky Bouton, what does she call it? Matte gel, acrylic gel. I like this stuff because it literally, you could glue a Cadillac to something with this stuff. This stuff is not going to budge. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and put it on this side here. And I'm just going to have to go under my desk real quickly here because I forgot to put something not sticky. Okay. All right, let me look at this again. This is the, okay, so I'm going to be gluing on this side here. Like I said, you make it super easy if you use paper that doesn't matter which way you go, okay? Now, you could technically do this with double-sided paper and then you wouldn't have to do all the gluing together. However, if you do that, you're not going to have such a strong cover because it's only going to be one thickness of paper. I'm doing it, even if I had two-sided paper, I would do this anyway, just to give the cover some heft, you know, and make it a little bit stronger. So I'm going all the way to the corners, and everything here, just going here, just to the middle. I did go over a tiny bit. I want to get the edges really well. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead, make sure I have it the right way, and I'm going to glue this down. Now, this was in my mind, this was going to be an easy process, so let me see if it's going to be as easy as I think it is. I need to make sure that my fold is right where the fold is. Okay, and I think we should be okay there. Okay, I think we're good. See, there is white because this outside one is a little bit bigger, which is absolutely fine because this way I can make sure that all my edges are glued down super well. I have some gapping down here I can see, so I'm just going to go ahead and reapply the glue here. Maybe I didn't get enough on. A lot of times you're going to have to do that. Anytime you're gluing cardstock to cardstock, you know, you might have to make sure that the edges are really glued down well. And corners sometimes can give us trouble. But, you know, if you're not in a hurry, just take your time and make sure it's done well. I'd rather take my time and make sure everything's glued down well. I can see here that I've got a little more gappage, so I'm only going to go the middle, though, and then bring that down and glue that like that. All right, so then I think my cover is done here. Let me just reach here. Where is my... I've got this little wooden brayer thing, and I can just double check to make sure everything's glued down nice and well. Okay. All right, so now at this point, okay, this side is not glued down because that's our pocket side, but this side is, okay? So we can just maybe just fold it again just to make sure that that paper here is nice and glued in the spine part here. But let's go ahead at this point and cut this white off because we're going to be gluing just this edge and this edge on this side. So we're good with the well, you know what? Let's go ahead and glue it, and then we'll cut it. It doesn't matter. You could do it either way. You could cut and glue or glue and cut, but let's go ahead. Now, this one, I'm going to use this foam and poster board glue from its Beacon. This, of course, came from the Dollar Tree. And like I said, if you do not care that you have a pocket in the back, you can go ahead and just glue this whole thing down. But I just thought about something else. Excuse me 1 second. Something else I forgot that I need. Hang on 1 second. Okay. This is something I prefer to do with when I do a pocket. I like to go ahead and put a notch in it. So I'm just gonna eyeball this, but you all, if you're precise and you really want to measure it, go ahead and measure it. But I'm going to just go ahead and put a notch in it, like I did my other ones. Oops, come on, Helen, get this in here. Okay, there we go. All right, now we're gonna glue it. It just makes getting stuff easier, in and out of the pockets easier. All right, glue, be nice to me, come on. All right. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about this glue. I love these Beacon glues. And I went to Joann's the other day because I don't have any more of these Dollar Tree ones, and my Dollar Tree certainly have not been carrying them lately. And I bet for $1.25 we're never going to see them again. But Joann's last week had coupons on the app on your phone, 50% off one item, and another coupon for 60% off one item. So my husband and I were going to go see my parents last Saturday, and it ended Saturday, and I only found it like Friday night. And so I said, on the way to Mom and Dad's, let's stop at Joann. So I got 2 bottles of glue. One for, I got this one, the Beacon Advanced Craft Glue, the 3-in-1. And then I got an Eileen's clear gel tacky glue, because I do like that for certain things. And I got both of them for $6, which I thought was a really good deal. Okay. All right, so there we go. We've got the notch, we've got our pouch, our pocket in the back, we've got the front. Now the only thing else I'm going to do here is I'm going to trim this up and cut this white off. Then I'm going to let it dry, and so part 2 we will put the pages in and talk about the pages. But for right now I'm going to end it so that I can really let this dry before I play with it anymore. So I'll see you in a little bit. Bye-bye. Okay guys, I am back. It's been a couple hours since I glued the inside cardstock to the outside cardstock, and everything is nice and dry, so we will be able to use this in a minute. But I just wanted to talk about the papers. Now in mine, you can't really tell what the papers are. And on a lot of them, I've actually glued, like this one, it was just, I think it was like white copy paper, but I put a whole magazine page on this side, so it's nice and thick. Some of these pages are so covered up, you know, and heavy because of what I put on them. But I know what the papers were. And so I went ahead and cut them. Now, a couple things about cutting papers. In this particular book, there's 20 pages sewn in the middle, which gives you 40 pages. But then if you count the front and back, it's 80. So in the middle of the book, let me see, here's the middle of this book, okay? There's 20 pages laid flat, okay? So when you fold them, that becomes 40 pages. But each page has a front and back, so that's how it becomes 80. So it's got 80 pages, which is actually 20 pages of paper. Now, just a couple things about paper. Depending on what you're going to use your journal for, it's going to be depending on what kind of paper you use. Now, I'm making this like this one as more of a just junk journal glue book kind of thing. So I can use all kinds of paper. I've got some scrapbook paper here. This is sketchbook paper, and I love to leave this tabs where I ripped it out of the sketchbook. I've got a piece of music paper. And then this is brown packing paper. This is white, not notebook, like letter paper. It's decorated letter paper. The decoration's on the other side. This is, of course, just a piece of vintage writing paper. Some more scrapbook paper. This is ledger paper right here. This is another piece of scrapbook paper. This is a teacher's planning book paper. Then this is a piece of paper from a how to paint book, one of those vintage how to paint books. I love using those in my junk journals. Here's another piece of that wonderful packing paper. This is a piece of scrapbook paper. This is a piece of paper with shorthand writing on it. This is a Fortran coding form. Now, I'm really dating myself here. I had to laugh when I even found that, but I also had the COBOL. I got a thing of the COBOL coding paper, and I've already used that, I think. And then this is a small piece of graph paper here. This is vellum, rose-colored vellum, or vellum with roses on it. This is coloring book page. And here's another piece of just note paper. And then this one in here is another scrapbook paper. And that's the middle. So that's my 20 pages. Now, couple things. If you noticed when we went through this, I cut them different lengths, different heights, different widths, just to add interest. You know, nothing. It's not just all pages like the right size of the journal. You can do that if you want. That's purely up to you. In my junk journals and in this one right here, I have pages of all different sizes, lengths, and widths, whatever, as long as they're not sticking out. Okay. So I went ahead and put these ones all together, okay, into a signature the way I want it. Now, one thing you want to make sure, remember we measured this, and when you measure your papers, you want to make sure, see now this one I'm probably going to have to do some adjusting to. You want to make sure that your papers are not sticking out, and see mine are right here. Mine are sticking out. So I'm going to have to probably stop the camera and just trim them off a little bit. What happens when you get papers together, especially when you're using like heavy papers like cardstock and whatever, you get what's called creep. And that's when folding them in half here starts pushing these middle ones out. And so they're a little bit longer than the cover. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera right now, and I'm going to fix that, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back. I went ahead and trimmed these all down. I think maybe between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch to make sure that they fit in the cover without sticking out, and now they do, okay? But I'm glad that that happened, because that does show you kind of what creep is, you know, and that it does happen. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually put our pages in the book, and we're going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I know I have a video on this before, but I'll go ahead and do it again. I've got a big fat needle here, and I have, this is waxed thread. I like using the waxed thread for several reasons, but the biggest reason is when you tie it, it really holds well. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be using 3 lengths. No, I'm just going to use 1.5. I'm sorry. I'm just going to use 1.5 length, or 2.5 lengths, sorry. 2.5 lengths. And that's what we're going to use, but we need to put holes in it first. So I'm getting ahead of myself. But if you use the wax thread, you can kind of just pinch it between your thumb and make it flat, and that way it will go through your needle. But this is a big needle. This is like I think it's called a darning needle or something. It's got quite a big eye on it. All right, so let's go ahead and put that there, because we need to get these pages in. Now, remember, some of my pages are half pages on the top, and some are half pages on the bottom, and you know, they're not the whole length. So we want to make sure that we're going to get them all to stay in. So I use clips, and I'm going to use these bulldog clips. I think they're called bulldog clips or binder clips, I forget, or maybe they're the same thing, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my papers are really pushed into the center, you know, into the fold here, the spine, and then I'm going to clip these. And I don't think, I just got a whole bunch of these clips, and I don't think these ones have ever been used because they're quite tight. But that's okay, we'll get them on. Now, you don't have to clip them if you don't want to. You don't have to be this fancy, but because I've got pages that are different heights and widths, I want to make sure that my papers aren't going to move around on me, that I'll be able to get them sewn in nicely, okay? That's completely up to you. And see, like this clip, it's only holding this piece with this. This piece is too short. That's why I do all 4 sides, because some pieces are quite small and, you know, not the width of the book either. So we want to make sure everything gets clipped nicely. So now all my pages are in there clipped. Before you do this, guys, you want to double check if you have a front cover, excuse me, and a back cover, that it matters if it's upright. And this one it does, because there's writing on it. Make sure your inside pages are upright too, because I have sewn in my signatures upside down before, and then I had to take it all out and redo it. Now, you can measure this. Now, remember I told you that this one is 8.5 inches high. So, 4 1/4 would be our middle, which would be right about here. So you can measure. Now what I'm doing, I'm just taking my pokey tool. If you don't have a pokey tool, you can use an awl or a big fat needle. And you're just going to go ahead and make a hole straight down into your spine here. And I'm not so fussed if it's exact. Okay, this is a glue book kind of thing. It's not you know, anything real precious. Now, because I'm going through several layers, I do have a mat down here. I think it's what's called a self-healing mat. And I'm really going to push on this and get this in here, because I'm going through quite a few layers here. And there's my first hole. Now, if I want to, I can go ahead and measure the other 2. And you don't have to like base it on the middle. You can just say, okay, so this side I'm going to 1 inch up. And just go ahead and do that. And I do like 1 inch on this size journal. You know, if you're doing a teeny tiny little journal, you know, it might only be 1/2 inch that you're going to come up. You just decide kind of where you want it to be, you know, that it's going to hold all the pages, okay? So then on this side, we'll do the same thing. We're just going to eyeball it. I'm not marking it or anything. I'm just going to say, okay, there's 1 inch right there. And that will be my 3rd. So with the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, as you can understand, it's 3 holes, and then we're going to sew in the signature. I have never made a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. That's something I would like to learn to do this year. These things aren't rocket science. It just takes you a few minutes to, you know, watch some videos and give it a try. All right, so I'm reaming that one into. Okay, so now I've got my 3 holes. And I've got my thread. Now, I don't want the thread to end on the outside, because we're going to put this strip of paper to cover the stitching. I want my thread to end on the inside. So wherever you want your thread to end, that's where you're going to start from, okay? So I want it to end from the inside, so I'm going to start with my needle and thread going from the inside to the outside, all right? And I'm just going to pull that through. You do need to leave a tail, and what some people do is go ahead and clip it, okay? And then you're going to go ahead, you can go either to the top or the bottom. For some reason, I always go to the top, and you're going to go through your hole there, okay? Alrighty, and you want to make sure that this is tight here, but not too tight, and you don't want to pull your tail out, okay? Now you're going to skip the middle, and you're going to go all the way to the bottom and come back out, okay? So that leaves your thread on the outside, and now we want it on the inside, so we're going to go back through that middle hole. And now coming through the middle, we want to make sure that we're on the other side of this thread here, this one that went all the way through, okay? So now I've got that, and I've got this one is between these 2. All right, does that make sense? This one here is between these 2. All right, so I'm going to give it a tug. I'm going to go on the outside and make sure, see, this is a little bit loose, so I'm going to play with it a little bit and see if I can't get some of that that looseness out. And I'm not sure which one I need to pull. You kind of have to just play with that a little bit to get that as tight as you want it. No, that's still loose. Okay, let me play with this a little bit more. I'm not sure which way, if I go this one, which one was the one that I had. I think it's this one. I don't know. Is it this one? Well, maybe it's this one. Okay. Okay, that's tight enough now. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do a knot here. I'm going to go right over left and then left over right. And now, just because this is a thicker book with, you know, it's got several cardstock sheets, I'm going to do a third one, okay? If it's a tiny little journal with small or thinner pages, I wouldn't worry about it, okay? So I'm going to cut that off like that. Now I can go ahead and take off these clips, and we have a journal, okay? But we're going to take it one more step here. Oops, put those to the side here. Let me just put my needles over here so I don't lose them or stab myself. Okay, so here's our journal here. Now you can leave this exposed if you want to. That's not a problem. Or if you sew it the other way where you have you start with the thread on the outside, you're going to end on the outside, you can leave a good length and you can put beads on it or something like that. But for this particular book, because somebody asked me to show how I made this one, okay, this one is tied on the inside. So then I just took a piece of complimentary paper, and this is 2 inches wide, and of course it's 8.5 inches long, which is how long my book is. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to fold it in half as best I can without getting my big fat head in the camera here, and trying to get it really in half. Now, I do have a scoreboard, and I could get that out and do all that fancy stuff, but a lot of people don't. So if you don't worry about it. You just do it this way. You just eyeball it. All right. And then if you want, you can get something to, where's my other scissors? You can get something to press your crease down to make it nice. Okay. All right. And again, like I said, this outside piece is mainly just to protect this here and to finish it off to make it look a little nicer, okay? Now notice my ends are a little bit longer here, so I'm going to trim this down a tiny bit. I'm just putting it on the bottom like that. And see here, I cut that one a little bit too long, so I'm just going to go ahead and trim that off. Let's see, like that. Oops, what happened there? Okay, all right, so now it should be the right length. You can glue it and then trim it, but I figured it's just easier to do it that way. So now, guys, it's just about gluing this on, and we're going to do that real quick. Now, for this, I would recommend using a strong glue, or you can use the glue tape, like the red tape, something like that. The only thing with the red tape or using something like that is you only have one shot to get it on. If you don't get it on right, you're kind of lost because it's stuck, okay? One shot to get that on. All right, so I'm just doing one side at a time here. So we're going to get this back piece on like this. And I like these two papers together. It's a very subtle difference, but it is different. All right, and then we're going to do the front. And then I'm going to show you something else here. All right, so we're going to get that. We're going to get right down in that seam, and that's going to get on those threads and really secure them. You know, because if you're using this as a glue book like I do, it's first of all, it's going to get fat and chunky, but second of all, it's going to be opened and closed, you know, quite a bit. So you want to make sure your binding is good, okay? Now we're just going to push that forward and glue it on like this. And I'm not even sure on the camera if you can see the difference between these two papers. Like I said, it is very subtle, but it is different. This actually has some green-brown that's not in that one. It's very pretty, though. All right, so there it is, guys. There's this journal is just like this journal. The only difference is this one has been worked on. Look how thick it's getting, right? but it started out just like this one. So don't forget that we also have this pocket in the back here. So you can take some ephemera. I have a little packet here. I've got some pieces of scrap paper, cardstock scraps. I've got a Sears Roebuck catalog page, a Repro one, some decorated paper, some vintage lined notebook paper, and this pretty little violet. I think this is a violet picture. We can put that in our little pocket. Don't forget our little pocket. Then I've got a little bag here. And this one has in it a little envelope with a cute little butterfly on the front and back. And we've got a playing card. I don't know what this game is, but it's I think it's French. And then we have another playing card. Look at this pretty one with the butterflies. Isn't that pretty? And there's some tickets. There's a little cupcake playing card. And then a cluster that I made, and all of these little goodies are in this bag here, and this little, it's kind of like glassine. It's like glassine, but it's orange with little dots on it, and that can be tucked in there too, because this guy is going to go on my Etsy shop. I'm still working on this one. And when I'm finished with this one, I might make another one, but I'm not ready for it yet. So this is going to go in my Etsy shop. And I already have 2 others made. And this is how they come. I pack them in cellophane, and they are tied with a little ribbon. I have this one here, which is pink and green. And this pink paper, you're not going to be able to see it through the cellophane, but I don't want to take it out. It's embossed, and it's really textured. It's got like embossed flowers and stuff on it. It's really a cool cover, but you could still stick other stuff on to decorate it. And this one here is more muted. It's more like a vintage style. And under this bow here, these are just holding them shut. There is one of those Tim Holtz pieces of ephemera with flowers and butterflies and nature things on it. So all 3 of these, now this one will be wrapped up. These 2 also have the ephemera in them in their pockets. This one will get wrapped up and listed. These 2 are already listed. I will list this one before I put this video up so that all 3 of these will be on my Etsy shop. If you don't want to make one, or you're just dying to get into it, or you want to get one first and then see, you know, if you want to bother making your own, whatever you'd like, I just wanted to have some available for you. So guys, that is it. It's not that difficult. It's very fun. One of the things people do comment to me a lot, and it is true, if you're going to make, if you're going to make junk journals and stuff, you do need a lot of supplies. You need a lot of paper, a lot of different kinds of paper, unless you just want to, to use copy paper or something, that's fine. But for some of us who make these journals, we invest quite a lot of money in all kinds of paper and books and whatever to put in that. So by offering them for sale, it means you can get these things without having to go out and buy, 20 different books for 20 different kinds of paper. So just to let you know that. I hope you like this video, guys. Please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I ask that you do. And until the next video, I hope you're all truly blessed. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comments section below. Bye-bye, guys. See you next time.